Well, me and Coxy have just got back from a trip to France, 4 days. We fished at a lake called Lac Renard, so it was only a short trip, but it was very, very hectic. We had 100 bites between us in the 4 days in the end, and we didn't fish the nights most of the time. We fished I fished the last night until all the rods had gone. But we arrived in dark, as is my usual way with my French trips. We missed the train on the way there. Then the train we was meant to get on was delayed, so by the time we got there it's gone 10 o'clock, it was pitch black, so we had to sort of set up in the dark and all that sort of thing. And we did spend the night trying to catch one. In fact, we stayed up pretty much all night, went to sleep for about half an hour at about 6 o'clock in the morning. We followed the fish around, saw them jump in and all that sort of thing, but we didn't manage a bite on the first night. So the following morning, once the sun was up, it was a nice morning and we could see the lake for the first time, and it was beautiful, really nice looking place. And we decided to fish in a swim called the Double Lodge. There's an angler's lodge right behind you with power, and to be honest with you, that sort of swayed our decision rather than the weather or anything else. It was laziness and it was just comfortable. The lodge is amazing, and it's like I say, it's got the shower in it and all that sort of thing. So yeah, Coxy went on the left of the swim and I went on the right of the swim, and we put a lot of bait out because we'd heard that they were very hungry fish. So when I say a lot of bait, I think we probably, I don't know, did 12-13 kilos each on that first hit of bait, and it didn't take long at all until the bites started coming. Coxy was off the mark first, probably within 40 minutes at the most, I suppose, and he had a nice mirror of 23 pound, and then I was off the mark very shortly afterwards with a pristine common of 27 pounds, and that was pretty much the pattern. After that we were catching one after the other, and by the end of the first day we'd caught 16 fish. The biggest was, I had a 29 pound mirror, 29 pound something mirror. That was my biggest of the day. I ended up on 9 fish. Coxy caught fish up to a similar sort of size, but he also had a bit of a surprise in a catfish that was 90 pounds. So we didn't know they were in there, nor did Carl, the owner, so that was interesting as well. Yeah, so we wound in that night. We didn't fish that night, and the following day it continued much the same, and we were actually catching better fish, but we knew that the wind was going to start blowing quite strong up to gale force right down to the other end of the lake, and we were, like I say, we were still catching a few. I think we still caught another 14-15 fish in that swim, in the double swim that day, but we decided to up sticks and get down there to the other end before the weather hit. So loaded everything into the car, drove to the far end of the lake and set up in our new swims, and it just looked perfect, to be honest with you. The wind was blowing down there, it just looked ideal. We got the rods out pretty quick and we started catching from the off. Better fish as well. I think Chris had a couple of 30s that evening. I had fish again up to 29 pounds, I think. and we were catching fish from the off. So that night we decided to fish the night itself, and it was strange because we didn't have a single bite during the night at all, not a bleep. And then the following morning at 7:30, hadn't recast, hadn't done anything, just left everything as it was through the night without any bites. And the following morning all hell broke loose, and the bites started to come, and come they did as well. I don't know how many I had that day, but I know Coxy ended up on 19 fish that day, including at least 2 fish that were 37 pound, a common and a mirror. I think he probably had more 30s than that, to be honest with you. I can't remember. Yeah, so it had been pretty frantic. That night Coxy was exhausted and he went and slept in the lodge, and I decided that I'd actually keep the rods out for the night, and I got a couple of bites, and by about 10:30, 11 o'clock I was just exhausted, so I wound the rods in and got some sleep. Up and had it first light the following morning, more bait out, ready to have another go, and the bites started coming straight away, but by lunchtime it had gone really quiet. I don't know why, I don't know whether we'd just pushed the fish off, I don't know what had happened, but basically the bites completely stopped by lunchtime. So once again we found ourselves packing everything away, back into the car, and we drove back up to the swim that we started in. It was a good move because I had a bite within 20 minutes of being back in the original swim, and we went on to catch a few that evening. I can't remember how many we ended up on that day, but we had obviously one more full day to go after that as well, so things were looking pretty good. Unfortunately on the last day it did slow down quite a bit. We still caught a few fish, but nothing like we had on the previous days.
Caught in the red.
And then last thing before we packed up the following morning, I had one last bite which resulted in another 29 pounder, which was nice. So I ended up with a couple of 30s, and Coxy had quite a few 30s. So yeah, that was it. It was a manic week, absolutely manic week. I've come back, my elbow's killing me, I've got bruises up my leg from the rod butt, my back's killing me. I know Coxy's the same. We got through probably 130 something kilos of bait. We only used 30 kilo of boilie. We're using Mainline cell. We used 30 kilo of boilie, and we're also using their particle, Mainline particle, but we also took our own hemp and tins of corn and to bulk it all out and just keep them on the spot. And we got through all of it. We ran out, and in fact the owner had to boil us up some bait for the last day because we'd just used everything we had. So they were hungry and we were getting through it at a fair old rate. We are going back there last week of April next year, so by then the new stock would have arrived, and in amongst the new stock there's a lot of 50s and 60s and things, so there's going to be a lot of big fish in there next year, and it's only going to get better and better. But it was a great trip, really enjoyable trip. It was a really good week, tiring, exhausting week. Came home needing a holiday, so you know you've had a good trip in France when that's the case. I'd just like to say a quick thank you to Carl for letting us come over and have a go before it actually opens, and also thanks to Coxy for putting up with me for a few days and not beating me too badly. Ended up on 2 more carp than I did, so I can live with that. It wasn't too bad. I'll see you for the next one.
carnage.